Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Settle the Score. My name is Harry Durham. Tottenham Hotspur remain in the Premier League after beating Everton at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Sadly, it wasn't to be for West Ham United despite that big scoreline at the London Stadium. The win wasn't enough, with them needing Tottenham to lose at home. What will the future look like for both clubs? Who knows? But let's take a look at what may happen over the next year with Chris from Spurs Chat and Nicky from West Ham Fan TV. Right, Chris, I'm going to start off with you, mate. Congratulations on survival. Just how nervy were those 90 minutes in North London, especially with your record at home this season being absolutely dreadful?
Yeah, Harry, first of all, it's nice to be on here talking about a Spurs win, particularly at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, because as you know, before this win at the weekend, we'd only won 2 Premier League games all season at home, and the record is abysmal. But I didn't get much sleep the night before the game, and relief is the word, relief, because it has been a very difficult and very disappointing season, probably the worst season that I've seen, supporting Spurs, and it's been really, really tough. So it's absolute relief to get over the line and remain in the Premier League. But it's about what's going to happen next at Spurs.
Nicky, commiserations. I mean, final day, you literally did all that you could. You arguably went above and beyond to remain in the Premier League, but it just wasn't meant to be. Just describe, you were there on Sunday as well, just describe the feeling among the West Ham faithful when that full-time whistle sounded and Spurs picked up the win as well.
It's all well and good doing it on the final day, but the Premier League isn't on the final day. It's a whole season, and we haven't been good enough this season. And the table at the end of the season doesn't lie. And there's a lot of players there that should, they need to look at themselves. The manager needs to look at himself. And I think that the feeling around the stadium was it was just disappointment. Like, we've been let down, and we have been let down. We've been let down by an ownership, and I know Tottenham will feel the same as well, because they shouldn't be in this position. They should be nowhere near this position, and to be in this position for 2 times on the spin is bad for them. But it's not so bad for us. We have been here before, but the difference is now is we are in a what they call a white elephant of a stadium, and there was just a sort of a groan of disappointment, and we could see this coming from a mile off. I've done videos at the beginning of the last season, at the beginning of this season, saying this team could very well go down. This team is not good enough, and I was proven right. And and I think there was a lot of people around that stadium. Listen, we would have liked to have sent Tottenham down, because they would have never heard the end of it, and we're never going to hear the end of it by them sending us down. That is what it is. It's that's rivalry. That's why football's beautiful. But the long end of the stick is that we haven't been good enough. The ownership hasn't been good enough, and it's been coming for a long, long time. And hopefully, and I've said this needs to start a revolution. This needs to start a change in West Ham. Otherwise, West Ham could become the next Leicester City and be playing League One football in the next couple of years if they're not careful.
Chris, what needs to change at Spurs? Obviously, we could point fingers at so many different things, but back-to-back 17th place finishes. I mean, a club of Spurs' stature, one season is somewhat of a blip. 2 seasons, there's an issue, a real issue. There's a poison within the football club. What needs to change? I mean, change is hard, especially with the summer that we've got. You've got players that are going to be going off to the World Cup, and then bang, 3 months later, we're back into a new season. But what groundwork needs to be put in this summer so these things and these 17th positions don't happen again?
Oh, I think it's a lot more than groundwork, Harry. I think a lot needs to be done in the summer. And let me just say that I completely agree with everything Nicky just said there. And the fans, for both clubs have been sensational this season, because the supporters are always there supporting the team and the players. And, a lot of the players have underperformed, and that has been a big issue. We've been through 3 managers this campaign, 4 managers in the last 12 months. So Spurs can't keep going round in these circles. And, the club themselves, I know they put a statement out yesterday stating that the club isn't for sale and they want to show real ambition. And that's exactly what Tottenham Hotspur need this summer. We need to show real ambition. We need to have a recruitment process which is a lot better than in recent years. I'll go back to that quote from Pochettino 2019 when we moved in the new stadium. You've got this wonderful mansion. You need to put the furniture in it. We're still at that stage 7 years later. And how many managers have we had? We've had some world-class managers there in Antonio Conte and Jose Mourinho as well, who didn't get us over the line. So we've gone in all different directions. But the main focus, I think, is ambition of the football club. Where do we want to be? Because we should not be fighting relegation. That isn't me being arrogant about it. We should be sitting here saying that Spurs have just qualified for the Champions League and looking forward to next season. But what I will say is Roberto De Zerbi coming in, without him, Spurs would have been relegated. There's no question or doubt about that. Nicky will be smiling here. I'll be sitting here really depressed. Let me also say that I'm not sitting here celebrating that we have got over the line and sitting 2 points above the relegation zone, because this season has not been good enough. The players have underperformed. Yes, we've had a lot of injuries, but there have been so many issues at the football club. So, in answer to your question, Harry, I think that we could be sitting here for hours upon hours talking about what needs to be done in the summer. So, a lot of work to do.
And I think that Chris will sit there and he'll reflect on this as well. I know for a full fact, and this is the thing, and the thing that Chris said at the beginning, both sets of fans have been fantastic. They have been fantastic. It's hard to support, and Chris wouldn't have had as much experience as me, but it's hard to support your team when you've got players that don't want to turn up. I turn up to that ground week in, week out, whether they're in the London Stadium, whether they're up in Newcastle. I was there all the time. I can't say the same about a lot of players. And I think what that also needs to do, I think De Zerbi will be a better manager for this. But you need players that care about the club. That's what you need. That's what Tottenham need. I read on the news, and I know he came back because of pressure, but your captain is going over to Argentina to watch the Argentina game rather than watch teammates who are just about to play probably the biggest game, in their Premier League era at least, because relegation from the Premier League for them would be devastating. And that, I think, is the issue. It's not the fans and the ownership. You go out there and this is where Premier League football's taken us. And I'll be honest with you, I'll be glad to get away from it for a little while, because you've got these characters that turn up to these football clubs and they don't want to play for your football club. What they want to do is they want to earn money and put themselves on a big stage. When Christian Romero broke down in tears, he wasn't breaking down in tears because he wasn't going to be there for Tottenham, and that's fact now, because he was going off to Argentina rather than watching his team. He was breaking down because he wanted to play for Argentina in the World Cup. When you've got players that do not want to play for your football club and they don't care whether you go down or start, because at the end of the day, they will still be there at the end, that's when you've got issues. So I think both clubs need to sort of have a look at that, to be honest.
That's a really good point, Nicky, because, of course, you need the players who want to play for your football club. And I think that Roberto De Zerbi is definitely going to get a different tune out of this group of players. And I think it was very interesting after the game. He said there's only 10, 11, 12 players in this squad that are good enough to be here. And that was music to my ears, because you want a manager to come in. You want them to be ambitious. You want them to win things. And, anyone that goes in at Spurs, they would have seen how difficult it has been in recent years, particularly under so many different managers. So things need to drastically change. The players do need to change. The attitudes need to change. The mentality needs to change. But like I said, without Roberto De Zerbi, Spurs would have been relegated. And that was a big turning point, us winning at Wolves. We hadn't won in the Premier League for 118 days. And as you mentioned at the start, Harry, we hadn't won at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in over 5 months. So these were huge moments. So without him being there, and he deserves full credit, and it's all down to him.
Nick, you sort of touched on the hierarchy a couple of minutes ago and the changes that are needed. Why they're not walking? I mean, this has been an issue for years, and you know a hell of a lot more than me. But why has it gotten to this point in which it doesn't matter how many protests that you have? It's, Karen Brady has gone, and still Sullivan sits there in his little Russian winter hat during the winter, and I don't know what it is about him and why he wants to remain there. is he an egomaniac? What is the situation?
He is an egomaniac. But I would take away the word ego. I think that perfectly describes him. He should be a maniac. He comes across as a maniac. The word is money. That's the word. That's the only word you've got to look at. He's got a lot of money invested in the club. He thought he was going to go to this stadium. And listen, I've done a video about this on my own channel the other day, and he thought this was going to be the next step. And he tried to do it with Birmingham City, and he had relative success with Birmingham City. But look where they are now, and look where they've been. And this is the legacy that man leaves. It's money. That's it. He is. He's told lie after lie after lie, that man. To get us into that statement, he's told lie after lie. We were supposed to be debt-free. That was one of the, the conditions that he set down to sort of like try and convince the fans. Well, by the time we get there, we'll be debt-free. It's a lie. We've been in debt ever since. We're in more debt now than we was back in Upton Park. We don't own anything. We've got no assets. What he thinks he's selling, I don't know, because the players that he's bought ain't worth anything. There's probably one or two of them that are worth anything. He's put us in big trouble, and the word is money. Because why he's, that word about we'll be debt free, he didn't mention that he would pay the debts off himself and then charge the club interest every year on the money that he loaned us, and it's never been paid off. But it comes down to money. He will not leave while there's money still there to be made, and why. This may change we're hoping this will change his tune because the Championship isn't as profitable as the Premier League. So pack your bags, David Sullivan. Take what you've got out of us. Take whatever anyone offers you for the club, and leave us in better hands because it's been a disgrace.
Chris, what did you make of James Maddison pretty much calling out the Spurs medical staff in his post-match interview off the back of Sunday?
Harry, it's been such a big issue, not only this season under 3 different managers, but last season under Ange Postecoglou. And, vast improvements need to be made at medical level as well, because, so many changes have been made at the football club in the last couple of years, but are they replacing the right people? From what I understand and from what I'm told, certain members of staff have been replaced, but then other certain members of staff haven't been replaced. So are you actually changing everything as a whole? Probably not. So that does need to improve because, like I said, the amount of injuries that we've had this year has been absolutely ridiculous, and that needs to change. But I do have full faith in Roberto De Zerbi in going through all of the problems that he has faced since he's come in, in this short period of time. So I think he's going to go through each issue one by one in the summer, and that's why I said that I think that we've got such a huge summer coming up because, even going back to like the Darren Anderton days, I remember interviewing Darren Anderton for my channel, and he called the medical staff and the whole situation then shambolic. And I don't think it's got a lot better all these years later. So this needs to improve. All of these things need to be investigated. Why Spurs were in this position last season and why we're in this position again this season. So, a lot of work needs to be done.
When a £60 million signing goes down and has done his ACL, and the first thing the medical staff are doing is getting him to jump up and down, then something needs to change.
And that hasn't happened just once either.
No.
Oh, mate, you can't make it up. You can't make it up. Lads, just a couple more before we finish up. Nicky, it could be any minute now. I could be speaking right now, and it happens. Nuno's time at the football club, seeming like it will be coming to an end after relegation. It's like I mentioned at the top. We've only got 3 months until the new season. Shorter than that for the Championship because it comes back a week before, and preparations are going to be needed to be had. Who's the ideal man for you to bring you back to the Premier League? Yes, he's not really that great in the Premier League, but a man that's gotten both Fulham, Bournemouth and Burnley out of the Championship is former West Ham midfielder Scott Parker. Would you take a punt on someone like Scott, a young manager, to get you through the Championship?
Yeah, I've seen some rumours today, and they're absolutely ridiculous, and it must be season ticket renewal time because I've heard Allegri mentioned this morning, which is absolutely preposterous to even. I'm just about to do a stream about it now. As I said before, this is what David Sullivan does. He starts to make up rumours to sell tickets. But Parker, yes, I will take Parker to get us out the Championship. I think there's going to be a little bit more a little bit more resources for him. I know we're in trouble financially, but in terms of the fan base and in terms of being able to attract clubs, other than Burnley, I don't think he didn't do great in the Premier League with Burnley. But I would take he knows the club. He's been here before, and yeah, listen, I don't think we can get any worse than Nuno. To be quite honest with you, Nuno was really baffling towards the end, especially in that Newcastle game where if we won that, we would have stayed up. So yeah, I'm not sad to see Nuno go, but I would. Craig Bellamy is one that I would really like to give a go, but it's dangerous. He's not got any experience in any league because he's been the Wales manager, but he may have had one in the low league. But another one loves the club, knows the club, was really said some good things about his club, and he's passionate. And if they don't start performing, he'd get his golf clubs out, and that'd be brilliant.
Can I ask how much you're looking forward to Millwall away next season?
I am. I'm very much. Listen, every cloud has a silver, but it's not. It's not just Millwall. We've been up here for a long time. I travel around the grounds. I'm looking forward to going to like Lincoln. Places that I haven't been for a while, and Bolton, and QPR and things like that. I am looking forward to the Championship. It's going to be more of a relief. We've all seen the Arsenal stuff with the VAR. Just getting away from that for a year. But it's got to only be for a year, otherwise we are done.
Chris, see us home, mate. I was laughing the other day when I read this on Twitter. The reports of Spurs and Arsenal players partying together in the same London nightclub over the weekend. Though I'm a neutral, I mean, I hate hearing stuff like this. You've just survived relegation, and I'm not trying to be a party pooper. Listen, I like a good night out. I like a good drink. I like a good boogie with my pals. But if I'm a football player and I'm surviving relegation and having an absolutely toilet season, I'm not partying in a nightclub. I'm going home, I'm locking myself away, and I'm not speaking to anyone.
Yeah, it's difficult, Harry. I think people, do things in different ways. People celebrate, people have a quiet, night in, whatever they do. I don't know what to say about that. This football club needs to improve. And like De Zerbi said, 10, 11, 12 players that are good enough to play for the football club. And, a lot of players need to go out the door and a lot of players need to be replaced. So, big summer ahead.
This episode of Settle the Score is sponsored by Sky Sports. Stream Sky Sports flexibly on Now. What you want, when you want, no fuss. Go to nowtv.com to start streaming Sky Sports today.